So here I will add my registration success template here in the meetups folder, in the templates folder. And of course, it's totally up to you how you want to structure this page. I will simply extend from the meetups base HTML file as I did it in my other templates. I will load the static module since I plan on constructing some static URLs. I'll set a value for the title block here. And of course also end this block therefore. And here my title is "You registered successfully," something like this. Then I also want to have a block with some site CSS, which I'll add in a second. And we'll add this block here. And then I also want to have a main heading block targeting this main heading here, if you forgot about that. And there I just want to say, "Thanks for signing up." Something like this. Keep it rather simple. And then add another block, the body block, with the actual page content. And here it's totally up to you what you want to add. I will just add a section with an idea of confirmation. And in that section, I'll add a h2 tag where I say, "You registered successfully." And then a paragraph where I say, "Thanks for signing up. See you at the meetup." And another paragraph where I'll say, "Got questions or can't make it? Please contact the organizer ahead of time." And here I want to make sure that we actually link to the organizer email address. And we'll do that in a second. For the moment, it's an empty link. And then below that, we can add another section with an idea of continue maybe, where I say, "Of course, you can sign up for more than one meetup." And another paragraph where I say, "Explore our meetups." And that should actually be a link. So here I'll add another anchor tag and wrap that around this entire text. And that link here will get a class of btn, which is a class I prepared in the base CSS styles I gave you earlier. And the link here will be hard-coded because I just want to redirect back to /meetups. So that's now the general template I want to have. Now, just as before, I prepared some styles in advance. This registration-confirmation CSS file, which you find attached. And it's now this style file which I want to import here in my template between the site CSS block tags. So here we can create a new link. And then again generate this static URL dynamically by pointing at meetups/styles/registration-confirmation CSS. That should work, hopefully. So that's the template I came up with. Now in the views.py file, we need to add a brand new view that returns and renders this template if we did sign up. So for this, I'll add a brand new view function here, the confirm registration function, which gets a request, of course. And here I then want to return the rendered template, and we pass request to render, as you know, and then the name of the template we want to render. In my case, that is registration success.html. And then maybe any context we want to pass in, but for the moment I got none. Now in URLs.py, we can add a brand new path, and that could be meetups/success, and add that in front of the path with the dynamic path segment, because if I add it thereafter, success, if this is part of the URL, will be treated as a value for this dynamic segment, and I don't want that. So here I want to order this in front of this dynamic path segment. And then here we want to point at views.confirm registration and give this a name of confirm-registration maybe. That's the name for this path. Now we need to redirect to this page, to this URL, if we successfully saved data in the database. And for that, in views.py, here, if we did save data in the database, after doing all of that, I want to redirect the user. And for that, we got another helpful shortcut, which we can import from Django shortcuts, and that's the redirect shortcut, which does what the name implies. We can return a value here if we saved data to the database, so that the other code here will not execute, and then call redirect to return a redirect response. And the difference is that we now redirect the user to a different URL. And redirect is really simple. We just pass in the name of the URL we want to redirect to. And in my case, that's this name here of this URL path we just added. So that's what I want to redirect to. And that is it. And actually, one thing I just noticed, of course, here the template I want to render is meetups/registration success. Because, of course, we have that meetup subfolder in templates. But with that, if we save this, I get no meetup found for this slug if I try to reload this a second meetup page. So something's wrong here. And the error actually is not that we did not find a meetup. This issue is just popping up, or this error message is just showing up because that's our generic error handler here. But the actual error is a different one. We can see it if I print the exception that was thrown here. If I save that and reload, then we see that the error description is that a reverse for meetup details was not found. Which still might sound cryptic, but the problem is that in the end it did not find a URL with a name of meetup details. And indeed, in URLs, I just have meetup detail, not meetup details. Now you might be wondering, where are we using meetup details? Well, it's in the meetup details HTML file. For the form action, I'm referring to meetup details. That should be meetup detail. So rendering that template here is failing because of this error, and that's why this render method here failed and why we saw this error response here. With that fixed, if I reload, I get back this detail page in my form. And now if I enter something invalid here, without .com or something like this at the end, you see this page reloads and we get this error message, which is great. Now, why do we see this error here? Because if the form validation fails, if isValid, which we call in our view, does not return true, then keep in mind we render this existing page again, and this existing page has this form. We always render this form. Now the thing is, if we submitted that form, with some invalid data maybe, then Django will actually update this form object after we called isValid and store any potential errors it detected in that form object as well. So if we then render this template again with that form, it pre-populates the input fields with the values the user entered before, and it shows these error messages which it gathered. So that's some additional convenience feature we get out of the box when working with Django and letting Django handling form submission. It gives us this form object, which initially, when we render this page for the first time, is empty. It has no stored values, in this case for the email. But if that form was submitted before, then if that page is rendered again because it's invalid maybe, then the old input is still there and extra error messages are also output automatically. That's really convenient. If I enter a valid email here though, then I indeed see the confirmation page. And if I go to my admin area, you see this participant now exists here. And if I have a look at my meetups for the second meetup, this participant was added here as well. So that's all working. Saving the data in the database and establishing that connection, that's working. And the success page is also showing up. And therefore, this entire flow is working as intended. Now, there are only a couple of minor final polishing steps which I want to take before we finished this entire demo project. And whilst doing that, we learned a lot about Django and some of its core features that make up Django.